doesn't he?
Yeah, you also wrote a biography, didn't you?
I did, of my great aunt, who was known as the Jazz Baroness, who was a Rothschild who fell in love with Thelonious Monk, and actually came to New York and lived with him.
Such a great story. I know, I remember now. It's such a great story. Tell us about her.
So she was born in 1913 in the kind of real fantasy kind of world of Europe at its height. So when she grew up, for example...
In London or Paris?
She was born in London.
Right.
And she was so cosseted that she had a maid slept at the end of her bed and another maid slept at the other end of her bed. So she lived in this incredible kind of encrusted cage, if you like.
Like a cocoon.
Cocoon, literally cocoon, and she had to do nothing. She wasn't educated. All she had to do was get married. That was the only thing that was expected of her. And that went very well. She met a handsome baron. They got married. They started to have children. And one day she went to visit a friend, and the friend said, "Have you heard of Thelonious Monk?" She said, "No." He said, "Listen to this record." And she said, "I've got to catch a plane. I can't. Listen to the record." The record was round midnight. He put the needle on the record. It went round and round and round, and it was like a vinyl version of a spell. And she never went home.
Never got on the plane?
Never got on the plane.
And what happened between her and Thelonious Monk?
Well, they ended up living together for the last 10 years of his life. They lived in Weehawken, so not far from here.
Yeah. See, this is a character that's... If you made that character up...
Yeah, and everyone would say rubbish.
Someone from the Rothschild family.
Yeah.
Here's one piece of music by Thelonious Monk.
Yeah.
And abandons all plans.
Everything. And she literally abandons...
Not knowing whether he would accept her in any way.
No,
not knowing whether...
Do you know what? Even odder, she didn't then meet him for 4 years because he was, at the time, he'd been busted for heroin.
Yeah.
And so he was locked up, so she didn't even see him.
But she waited for him.
She waited for him.
What a great story.
Amazing. And then she
It's a movie.
It is a movie. Well, it is going to be a series, for a well-known television station.
The BBC?
No, I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
No. Sure you can.
Okay, it's for Amazon.
Oh, that's for Amazon.
Yeah, so it's Amazon Studios.
They're doing a lot of original programming that's very good. Okay. And how is the family?
That's a big question.
Fighting with each other?
Oh, well, always.
Have we settled all the fights?
Oh, you know this. Any big
fathers
family.
and sons are speaking. Are they?
Yeah, no, the fathers and sons have, had lunch recently. And,
did they?
Oh, yeah, no, that's all fine.
So all things are back?
Look, any family, any big family, we know is complicated, and ours is absolutely no exception to the rule, can I tell you?
When you got ready to write this novel, there was a gift coming to you, which was a knowledge of the contemporary art market. And Nicholas Sirota, the director of the Tate, said to the New York Times, she has been involved with the art world for long enough to really capture it well. Her novel is not unsympathetic, but it does expose some of the fairly sharp practices in this world, which is unregulated and, to say the least, not very transparent.
Yeah. So I think it is a strange thing that you have this world, which, as you said, has an annual turn of about 100 billion, and there are very, very few regulations.
Yeah.
So, for example, this thing of, when you go into an auction and the auctioneer can take bids from off the wall, and meaning that, he can have somebody there who wants the painting and he can bid that person up, without necessarily having an opponent.
Yeah.
Now, that's odd. I don't think that's completely straight.
Yeah,
there's another thing, of course, where you can go and you can offer someone a huge guarantee. You can underwrite how much their, work is going to get. And somebody will actually underwrite it so that they know at the end of the day, if it doesn't fetch that, it'll go out. So there are all sorts of slightly nefarious practices to guarantee high prices. And is that right? Is that a fair market? Is that a level playing field?
Probably not.
Probably not, Can you prove it? Probably not.
You chose Antoine Watteau?
Yeah.
Watteau?
Well, you can anyway. I mean, some people say Watteau. I say Watteau.
Right. Okay, all right. But you chose him, and he was a 18th century French painter whose brief career, helped provide interest in color and movement. Yeah.
Well, I will say there was very, very little known about him, which is brilliant if you happen to be, if I'd written about Titian or Picasso, let's face it, there'd been masses. Right. But Watteau, literally, we know he was born, and we know he died, and in the middle he had rather a miserable life, and I thought, perfect. I didn't want anyone to have, too much going on. There was enough going on.
Was it hard growing up as a Rothschild?
Well, you know, I don't know any other way to grow up. I mean, that was the only thing I knew. No. Yeah. So what I do...
But my impression of you is that you have grown, with new adventures, have grown more confident.
Yes, I'm a completely different person to the one you first met.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely different.
Yeah. And what was that?
I think it's because it was very difficult to live up to some of the people in my family. I mean, there's my father, there was my grandfather, there was my Aunt Emma, there was, great Aunt Nika, there was Miriam, who was, the Queen of the Fleas. I mean, the men and women were all larger than life, and I had to go out and achieve things in my own right and make my own mistakes to feel kind of that it was all right somehow. That makes any sense.
Turned out all right, didn't it?
So far, so good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Hannah Rothschild, The Improbability of Love. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.